I still didn't know why they hired me. I had no previous experience in the field, and I had no idea how to do this, what they wanted me to do. It didn't help that I was woefully unprepared when I showed up the first day. I was so nervous that 10 minutes before, I'd thrown up into a duck pond close by. But now here I was, standing in front of 30 young faces, about to teach my very first class. This was in Vancouver in the spring of 2006, and I was terrified. But I didn't know it at the time. I had just stumbled across my passion. And as I was standing in front of these students, rumbling through my unprepared lesson, I had one thing going for me. Prior to the class, I'd memorized the class list. I thought that's what teachers do. And as I started addressing the students by their names, something beautiful started happening. Interactions between me, the students, them, and themselves. And I realized in that moment, teaching has less to do with the content I deliver, but everything with the interactions I create with my students. Now, it is one thing to connect to 30 or 60 students sitting in a classroom right in front of you, right? You can look at them and make connections. But a completely different thing to do this online, in a virtual learning environment, with people all across the world. Now, how do we do that? How do we add personality and that so important human touch to a virtual environment? These are the kinds of questions my team and I ask ourselves as we are building Jami. Let me introduce you to our project. Jami is a virtual incubator for passionate entrepreneurs that want to start companies. Companies that solve complex and meaningful problems. You know that human-to-human interaction becomes even more important in an online learning environment, where technology has a tendency to take center stage, often at the cost of the individual learner. We believe that education that is built on a one-size-fits-all doesn't work. Never has, but less so today. The problems we are faced today cannot be solved using the same methods that we used in the past, over decades. They require education to develop individuals that are passionate, that are creative, like our students here, and innovative and can do stuff. Jami is by design fully learner-centric, not content or technology-centric. The human stands in the middle. It's a virtual place where entrepreneurs can come together, share their ideas, learn from one another, compete in competitions, and most importantly, receive mentorship, local and international mentorship. Now, this changes the role of the teacher to one of mentor and perhaps partner in learning. Jami, by the way, means community in Swahili, a language spoken in Kenya, one of our first international partners. We think, quite proudly, that Jami could be the next iteration of online education. We call it massive, individualized, there you go, or mild. You know, since that terrible class in the spring of 2006, I have taught hundreds of workshops and classes, not just design, leadership, all kinds of classes. There's a couple of things that I have learned by being in a classroom and interacting with my students that I would like to share with you today. There they are, just graduated last summer. So, number one, what's the most important thing? Relationships first. before we can embark on teaching anything, we need to build a relationship, create contact with our students. I truly believe that at the core of everything we do is the human, that interconnectedness of people, so to speak. The most compelling classrooms are the ones where learning has a deeper purpose, right? Where something important is taking place. Now, we can think of our students as this cohesive group of people. But no, they're all individuals, and they want to be seen as such. None of you are alike. There is no average student. It doesn't exist. We're all different. Now, in order to build these courses and deliver learning experiences, we need to know where our students come from, what they struggle with, what they're passionate about, what they're up to. So, about a year ago, pretty much a year ago, on Jami, we were working with a group of Kenyans. And for some reason, they stopped responding to our messages. And user engagement on the platform was terribly low. Now, you can understand, this is a bit of a problem for a platform that prides itself to build relationships and connect people to one another. So we were a bit desperate. So on a whim, we posted a photograph of the parking lot outside of our office. And it happened to be one of those typical Waterloo winter days. February. You know what I mean? -30, wind chill, snow blowing sideways, marvels of nature. This photo elicited immediate feedback. Students started sending us things. They shared photographs of their views in Kenya as they were working on their startups. Lush green landscapes, kids running through the streets in shorts, and in one instance, people dancing in the street. They shared. By the end of the competition, they had shared with us all kinds of important things. Not just photographs of things they saw, also important things to them. For example, when their campus was on lockdown and they were all hiding under the desks because of a terrorist threat. This informed our design decision of using photographs as backgrounds in our user interface from all the places that our users come from. Kind of a visual way of connecting them. These are photos from Canada, Kenya, Egypt, and come spring 2017, Scotland, all our partners. Number 2, learning needs a purpose. As you are students in the room, you know we can't force you to learn anything. As a teacher, I can't force you. However, I can create a learning environment that is conducive to learning. The most compelling classrooms have purpose, a bigger meaning, right? And they foster learning with social interactions that allows people to talk to each other, talk to me, talk to themselves. On Jami, we challenge our startup teams to tackle complex problems. For example, agricultural issues in sub-Saharan Africa, or infrastructure problems in Egypt. Big, complex, difficult problems. We want them to tackle these things. So this could be a team in Kenya, building a startup that addresses water scarcity in their village. Or a 2-person team in Cairo building a conduit between government service providers and the disgruntled citizenry. Jami is designed with the purpose, problem-centered learning at the center. And students work around that. Number 3, my last point. Authenticity is key. You know that. You can't fake that you care about something or somebody. You have to love what you teach. Now let me repeat this. This is really important for the teachers here. You have to love what you teach. If you don't, your audience, your students will see straight through that. You can't inspire them with your topics. If you don't love the topic you teach, well, force yourself to fall in love. Dim the lights. Put rose petals there. Light a candle. I don't know. Like an actor has to do, who has to play a difficult character and has to dig deep to find that beauty inside that person, to represent it authentically. Now, we are virtually connected to each other like never before. Hashtag, right? Now, this is a huge opportunity. This is how walls come down, how good things could happen. We can share our voices, support each other, and tackle those daunting problems that we're currently faced with all around the world, everywhere. Now, if you haven't figured this out by now, I absolutely love teaching. It's where I come alive. It's what I would do for free. Well, good thing I didn't say this in public. But I don't have to throw up before my classes anymore. And being in the classroom for the last 10 years, interacting with my students, I have learned a ton. Everybody has something to offer. Teaching and mentorship, they are multi-directional processes. Now, my students know this. I always talk about love and care in my classes. They make fun of me sometimes. But I mean this. Love for the topic, love for our craft, for the problems we're tackling in a class, but also love for how we treat each other as student and teacher, teacher and student. Now, you might think this is a bit inappropriate to talk about love in an educational setting. I say it's the opposite. Because you see, care and love and building these relationships with each other, that's what it's all about. That's our most powerful, most important tool in our teaching and learning and human toolkit. Thank you.